Something happened to you this morning. You might not have the exact words to describe it, but something inside you shifted. A key turned in a place so deep you didn't even know it was still unlocked. I came here to tell you exactly what that was, because the time of uncertainty about your own spirit has come to an end. You've been carrying a question that nobody around you could answer, a restlessness that became your constant companion. But tonight, the silence has finally given way to confirmation. By the end of this conversation, you'll recognize the 5 clear signs that have been showing up in your life, and you'll understand the hidden meaning behind each one of them. You'll understand why the stagnation you felt wasn't a defeat, but a strategic move of preparation. And before we finish, there's a declaration I'm going to make about your life, a confirmation that I believe is the very reason you were led to this transmission right now. You've been feeling an exhaustion that doesn't come from the body, but from the spirit. It's a tiredness that rest doesn't cure, because it's not a lack of sleep, it's the weight of an internal calibration. You've noticed that conversations that used to feel natural now ring hollow, as if you were speaking a language others can no longer understand. You've seen people drift away, or maybe it was you who quietly withdrew, not out of hurt, but out of an instinctive need to preserve the frequency being adjusted inside you. If you've noticed that the noise of the world around you seems more and more distant, while the voice of your intuition grows sharper and sharper, know this: it's not isolation, it's alignment. You are being removed from spaces that can no longer hold your new dimension. Pause for a moment, breathe with me now. Let this truth settle into the place that has been restless for so long. The act of typing those 3 digits is your spirit, signing the contract that you accept this new season. It's your way of saying you're ready for what comes next. Type 888 and then come right back to me. Many try to fight this process of withdrawal, trying to force open doors that destiny itself has already closed. But you went through an apparent stagnation. It seemed like nothing was moving. Your projects were stuck. Your voice found no echo, and life had entered a long winter with no spring in sight. Yet the truth beneath the surface is that what you lived through wasn't a delay. It was hidden preparation. Picture an ancient tree during winter. On the surface, everything looks dry and dead. No leaves, no fruit, no movement. But underground, it is precisely in that period of apparent inactivity that the roots are deepening, searching for deep waters that will keep it steady when the storm hits. Your silence wasn't being forgotten, it was your time of rooting. You were kept in a state of low visibility, so that when the moment of your manifestation arrived, you couldn't be knocked over by surface winds. You were built to last, not just to shine for a moment. The apparent paralysis was, in truth, the protection of your structure, allowing your essence to strengthen at a depth that nobody, not even you, could see. The world was looking at what was missing, while the Creator was working on what needed to be anchored. Now that you understand that stagnation was a precise movement, you can finally let go of the guilt for not producing the results the world expected, and begin to live the harvest of what was planted in the dark. This underground garden you inhabit is not a place of loneliness, but of an invisible architecture where your soul is being sculpted. So often we think that growth only happens under the sun, in the glow of victories everyone can see. But the truth is that the most lasting growth happens in the fertile darkness of the soil, where no one is watching and no external pressure can reach the seed. Now picture that garden blooming in layers beneath the surface of your everyday life. There, roots do not seek the approval of others, nor the speed of quick results. They seek the nourishment of truth, the water of essence that never dries up, and the support of the soil that holds your real identity. This process of rooting is what defines who you truly are, transforming the fragility you once carried into an unshakable structure. For years you may have felt you were wasting time, or that your life was a repetitive cycle of effort with no visible harvest, but that was the gardener's work, preparing the ground for a blossoming that is now inevitable. You weren't being set aside, you were being preserved inside that garden, protected from the storms that would have destroyed a project that didn't yet have deep roots. Your silent patience, your tears in the dark, your staying power even when nothing confirmed your path, all of that was the irrigation of this garden. Within this same reality, we need to look at the pain you've carried, because it is not a sign of personal failure, but the clear symptom of the chrysalis breaking. When a creature is about to transform, the space around it becomes tight, uncomfortable, suffocating. The chrysalis, which once served as protection, becomes a prison that must be broken for the new life to emerge. You felt that squeeze, that pressure on your soul, as if the clothes you wear, the conversations you hold, and the places you frequent no longer fit your spiritual size. This pain you interpret as a mistake, as inadequacy, or as a delay, is actually the resistance needed to strengthen your new wings. The breaking is not the end of your story. It's the moment when the life contained inside finally finds the freedom to express itself. You did not fail. You simply outgrew the environment assigned to you, and now the pain of expansion is forcing the walls that kept you limited to rupture. If you can accept that this discomfort is the sign of your metamorphosis, the pain will lose its paralyzing power and become the fuel of your ascent. Feel this truth now, settling into every fiber of your being, as if a light has turned on in a room that's been dark for decades. Let the recognition of that presence become permanent in your personal record. The act of declaring that presence marks the end of your waiting and the beginning of your harvest. Type "I am here" and then come right back to me. To maintain this state of presence so that you don't slip back into the old patterns of anxiety that kept you locked to the surface, I invite you to practice frequency auditing. It's not an effort, not a complex technique. It's just a conscious pause throughout your day. When the noise of the world tries to invade your peace, when the fear of scarcity or the doubt about your purpose tries to whisper in your ear, stop for a second and ask yourself, does this feeling belong to my underground garden, where truth blooms, or does it belong to the surface world, where everything is temporary? Simply recognizing the source of the thought is enough to disarm its influence. You don't need to change the outer world. You only need to keep your frequency aligned with what you discovered here today. That is your only responsibility, to be the guardian of your own inner garden. If something in this message, in this revelation of your own journey, confirmed what your spirit already recognized deep down, let your like be your wordless amen. Don't see it as a number or a cold metric on a platform, but as a sacred gesture of agreement, a silent sign that what was named here has been received and accepted as your own truth. It's the recognition that among so many voices in the world, what was spoken touched the place where your soul lives, confirming that you are no longer walking in the dark, but guided by the light of your own awareness. Breathe deeply now, letting that responsibility settle on you lightly. Before we close this cycle, there is one last declaration that needs to be made, not as a request, but as a seal of authority over everything that has been awakened here. Don't write this as a wish or a distant hope. Write it as a confirmation of identity. The silent agreement that formed between the clarity of the sky and your ability to hear throughout this entire conversation is a covenant you will begin living in a radically new way starting today. Type these words slowly with the awareness that each letter is an affirmation of your position. Let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing. Take your place. You are commissioned. You are sustained. You are sent. You are commissioned to carry the truth the world tried to silence inside you. You are sustained by the strength that doesn't come from your own energy, but from the source that never runs out and that recognizes your effort as an act of obedience. You are sent back to your routine, to your work, to your family, no longer as someone who needs to prove their worth, but as someone who knows exactly who they are and where their authority comes from. A strange stillness has replaced the anxiety you carried for months. I didn't come here to give you ordinary advice, but to name this change. For a long time, you felt like you were knocking on a door that refused to open, working harder than everyone around you, maintaining a faithfulness that seemed invisible to the world. I know that exhaustion became your most frequent companion, and that the question, "Why hasn't it happened yet?" hammered in your mind during nights of broken sleep. But today, the scene changes. In the time we'll spend together, you'll recognize the 5 clear signs that have punctuated your routine and finally understand what they mean. You'll understand the flaw in the strategy that was blocking what you were seeking. And above all, you'll receive the confirmation that this cycle of waiting has ended. You are no longer in the antechamber of your purpose. You have crossed the threshold. Many of you have noticed that conversations that once felt normal now ring hollow. You feel like a stranger in places where you used to be the center. You wake up at specific hours, feeling an energy that doesn't belong to the waking world, and you notice numerical patterns repeating in unexpected places. Don't be fooled. This is not mental confusion. This is calibration. Your frequency is being adjusted for a reality that requires a higher vibration. This social isolation, this feeling that you no longer fit at certain tables, is not a punishment. It's a strategic distancing so that you don't lose alignment with your new path. You are being prepared for something that cannot be sustained by the old model of life you left behind. If even one of these points touched your soul, if your body reacted to this truth like someone recognizing an old home, pause for a moment. Breathe deeply. Typing those 3 digits is your way of saying yes to the new phase, a formal agreement between your spirit and the reality that is manifesting. Do it now. That small movement is your acceptance, then come right back to continue. What you interpreted as stagnation was, in truth, a movement of hidden preparation. Imagine a garden in the middle of winter. Above ground, everything looks dead, dry, grey. Nothing grows, nothing blooms, nothing moves. But beneath the surface, a monumental work is happening. The roots are piercing deep layers of soil, seeking minerals that were previously inaccessible, creating a support structure that will allow the tree to weather winds that would knock down anyone who grew too fast. You have been in your own particular winter. What looked like a blockage was the building of your foundation. If you had tried to rise now, without that invisible structure forged in the silence of recent months, you wouldn't have the stability to carry the blessing that is coming. The underground garden is not a place of defeat. It's the laboratory where character is tempered to bear the weight of what you asked for. Your persistence, even when no one was watching, even when the result seemed distant, is what allowed those roots to deepen. You are not late. You are in the exact time of your harvest. Let this declaration seal what has been revealed inside you. The act of writing these 3 words is your recognition that your preparation has come to an end. Type it, confirm your position, and come back to me. The pain you felt when breaking with your old patterns was not a personal failure. It was the breaking of your chrysalis. The chrysalis is a safe place, but it's a prison if you are meant to fly. The discomfort you felt, that anguish of feeling like the skin no longer fit the body, was the sign that your transformation was accelerating. You didn't fail at anything. You simply outgrew the limits of your old form. To maintain this level of presence, I suggest you practice frequency auditing. Before each day, when you open your eyes, ask yourself, is this action I'm about to take driven by fear of lack or by the certainty of my position? If it's from fear, let it pass. If it's from certainty, move forward without looking sideways. Your intuition is now your primary guide because your mind has been reprogrammed by the time we spent here. Let your like at this moment be like a wordless amen, not as a metric or a number, but as a deep agreement between what was said and what your heart has just validated as truth. It is the recognition that, in this conversation, something sacred was transferred. There is someone in your life, maybe a friend or family member, who has been crossing a desert very similar to the one you just described. Someone who is too quiet, too exhausted, but who maintains an unwavering faithfulness to their own mission, even without seeing results. That person is carrying a weight that no one else sees. And as you hear this, their face came clearly to your mind, didn't it? Don't ignore that impulse. Send this content to them. The person you're remembering right now is someone who doesn't ask for help, someone who holds their own battles with a dignity that almost hurts, because you know exactly how much it costs to maintain that posture when the storm doesn't stop. It's an act of care, a recognition that even though they feel isolated in their routine, their struggle has not gone unnoticed. There is a sacred purpose in connecting those who are crossing the desert, because the strength of one fuels the hope of another. Don't underestimate the impact of this small act of sharing, for it is through these invisible movements that the web of support holding your purpose becomes denser and unshakable. As we approach the close of this conversation, understand that what happened here was no accident. You didn't arrive at this point in the journey by luck or by a random sequence of choices. You came here because there was a silent coordination to make your heart ready to hear these words. What has been revealed cannot be unlearned. From now on, the lens through which you see your challenges will be different. You are no longer the person seeking an answer out there, trying to convince the world of your value. You are the person who has understood that the value was already deposited. Before this moment closes, I want you to put yourself in a posture of absolute reception. Set aside any weight you still carry on your shoulders, any concern about what was left behind in the last hours, and focus only on the truth that is settling in now. You spent years trying to fit pieces that didn't belong on your board, only to discover that the entire board needed to be replaced. And today, that replacement is complete. What you lived through was not a loss. It was a necessary emptying, so that the new could find space where the old insisted on staying. There are truths that need to be spoken, so that your spirit can recognize itself in the mirror of eternity. You are commissioned. You are sustained. You are sent. You are commissioned to carry a frequency that few can sustain on this earth, a frequency of calm in the midst of chaos and certainty in the midst of doubt. You are sustained by the invisible hand that guided every step of yours, even on those days when you felt you were walking in the dark with no light in sight. You are sent as a landmark, as a point of light that alters the environment by its mere presence, wherever you set foot from today onward, not as a wish, not as a distant hope, but as a final confirmation of what you accepted for your life today. This is your seal, the signature of your spirit on what was declared here. Type it calmly, feeling each word, and know that this seal guarantees that what was awakened will not go back to sleep. Your time of waiting is over. Your time of manifestation has begun. Something changed inside you this morning, and that change wasn't an external event. It was an internal reordering that you are still processing. You felt a weight that suddenly lost the gravitational pull it had on your soul. It's as if the fog that clouded your horizon has lifted, allowing you to see the path that was there all along, but that you couldn't see while you were fighting against the currents. I came here to tell you that this transition is no accident. It's the harvest of a faithfulness that no one else saw. For a long time, you felt like you were living in a state of perpetual waiting. The doors you knocked on seemed locked from the inside, and the conversations you tried to have sounded like echoes in an empty hall. But the truth, the one I'm here to confirm now, is that you weren't being ignored. You were being prepared. What you lived through wasn't a series of defeats, it was endurance training. Every night you cried in silence, every moment discouragement knocked on your door, and you still decided to keep going. None of that was wasted. On the contrary, it built the structure that is now being inaugurated in your life. If something of what I just said found a deep echo in you right now, if your shoulders relaxed when you heard that your struggle wasn't in vain, I want you to do something simple. It's not just a gesture. It's your sign that you understand the cycle of scarcity has ended and the cycle of overflow has begun. The act of typing those 3 numbers is your way of saying yes to the new season. Type 888, feel the weight of what you're leaving behind, and come right back to continue. What happens now is what we call alignment. Imagine you spent years trying to walk on steep terrain, carrying a backpack full of rocks that weren't yours. You felt exhausted, not understanding why the hike took so much effort, while others seemed to be sprinting on the track next to you. What you didn't see, but what now becomes obvious, is that those rocks were inherited fears, other people's expectations, and the constant need to prove your worth to people who were never willing to see it. The moment you decided to drop that load, your speed didn't change, but your breath changed completely. You stopped racing against time and started walking at the rhythm of your own essence. And it's in that rhythm, and only in that rhythm, that victory becomes inevitable. You no longer need to convince anyone of who you are. Your character, your patience, your resilience already shout the answer louder than any word you could speak in your defense. The stagnation you felt wasn't a stop. It was the stillness before the storm of blessings that is beginning to find its course. It's like you've been cultivating an underground garden. While everyone was looking at the surface, expecting sprouts and flowers, you were doing the most sacred work of all, rooting. Nobody sees the roots. Nobody praises the depth of a root in the dark. But that root is what holds the oak when the storm comes. That's your seal. As you type, you declare that you're no longer chasing visible results. You're grounded in what is eternal. Type, feel that presence, and come back to me. To maintain this state of clarity, the practice is simple: frequency auditing. Whenever anxiety tries to tell you that you're behind, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, does this worry belong to my path, or is it just a reflection of what others think of me? If it's not yours, let it go. Your victory doesn't depend on external validation. It's already written in your consistency. If something in this conversation confirmed what your spirit has been whispering in the early hours, let your like be your wordless amen. It's not a button. It's a pact of recognition between the one who speaks and the one who listens. Now think of someone. There's a person in your circle, someone who has been faithful in invisibility, someone who works with integrity even when no one is watching, but who now carries a weariness they can't hide. That person's face came to your mind as I spoke, didn't it? Send this message to them, not as advice, but as a reminder that the time of harvest has come. Be the channel that delivers the confirmation they so desperately need. We're nearing the end of this encounter, but what was opened here does not close. Before we leave, I want you to secure your place in this new season. It's not a request, it's an acknowledgement. It's the seal of authority you assume from today. Type slowly, letting each letter become a solid foundation for your next steps. You are commissioned, you are sustained, you are sent. Directly into the mission entrusted to you, without detours, without fear, without backing down. What you carry is a legacy that is now beginning to bear fruit. Directly into the peace that surpasses understanding, the peace that guards your heart even when the world around you seems chaotic. Directly into the harvest you won't have to force, because it was already planted with tears of perseverance. Right now, all across the world, others are receiving this exact same call at this moment. You're not alone in this transition. Thousands of quiet, faithful, resilient people are awakening to the same truth you've just embraced. You are part of a movement that doesn't need fanfare to be real, and that's exactly why it is unshakable. It is sealed.